He's a demon king. How not to look at this situation? He should be an exceptionally bloodthirsty being who mercilessly exterminates humans. Somehow, this bloodthirsty creature, like most humans, had become a pathetic corporate slave. Such thoughts crept into the Demon King's head as he held his purchases from the store in his hands and stood on the bridge, looking out over the city and the cars passing by. It had all started from that very moment. He had been chosen to get the Devil system. The system appeared congratulating him for activating the special abilities of the demon race. The system asked him if he was ready to step on the dark path, and he said he was. Since then, no monster could oppose him and destroy him. With the support of the system, that is, with cheats, he climbed higher and higher, climbing to the very top of the hierarchy. All this hard and tedious journey continued until the day came. This day, the day he ascended to the coveted throne of the Demon Lord. Demonesses could not take their eyes off his beauty and power, aka Demon Lord. Gathering his army, he finally decided to go to a place he had not yet conquered. He decided to open a gate, and that would lead him and his men into the world of men. All overflowing with pathos and intoxicated with his power, he asks that people tremble and weep. The Demon King appeared like a nightmare to these people who did not expect such an arrival and were shocked when the Demon King in an instant destroyed high-rise buildings with his fire and everything around was in flames. People did not even understand what was happening, and of the already caught up with death, the fire was everywhere, nowhere to hide from it. The Demon Lord's minions flew on dragons and shouted excited slogans about enslaving humanity and reviving the demon race. The Demon Lord, while in the air, only watched the humans' pathetic attempts to escape. He possessed a special ability, the Dark Abyss. Some people were even able to recognize what was happening, namely that the demons had invaded, and those who recognized it screamed as they ran away. The Demon Lord was too smug. He ordered a bunch of pathetic humans to submit to the Demon King. That dying personally at the hands of the Demon King should be considered an honor for these people. However, the Demon King was interrupted. Some silent girl appeared. The girl was dressed in a classic suit with a tie. The girl's name was Xing Ling. Her class, Red Core, Warrior. Rank, SSS. Seeing this girl, the Demon King only sneers at her. Is she really the trump card of humanity that can stop him? In a mocking manner, he orders the girl to dissolve into his dark abyss and attacks Xing Ling. A purple flame rushed straight towards her. From this flame, a frightening face with red eyes and a mouth with many teeth appeared. The girl didn't make a sound and used her ability, Atomic Fission, thus shattering the attack. Xing Ling then moved lightning fast to the Demon King and struck at him using her special ability. This attack split the Demon Lord in half. That day, the Demon Lord fell at the hand of his nemesis. At the same instant, the Demon Lord was struck by lightning. As it turned out, he was sitting on the throne at that moment. His subordinate demoness even worried whether her lord was all right. The Demon King replied that he was fine. He was just deep in thought, worrying about the future of the demons. He asked to be left alone as he makes to be alone. The girls follow the order and leave, and asked that His Majesty not overwork himself. Once the submission left the room, the Demon King showed his true feelings. That girl seemed incredibly strong to him, as she only needed one misstep from the Demon King to shatter him. It seems there was someone so strong in the ranks of humanity, he didn't even realize it. Nevertheless, he convinces himself that this time he was just not careful. But next time he will be alert, so everything will be fine. He recalls the path he has traveled so far and how he achieved the highest position among demons by relying on continuous rebirths, during which he made adjustments to his actions. He recalls that his main cheat is unlimited rebirths. The rebirth system informs him that it has rewound his life back 2 years, so he must continue his journey with greater perseverance. The guy finally perks up again and is filled with optimism. After all, with his system, he is absolutely invincible. The rebirth system is activated. It asks if he wants to be reborn 2 years back, and the guy agrees. He will have to go all the way back again, but thanks to this system, which is a cheat, no matter what difficulties he experienced, no matter what mistakes he made, he could always go back and fix the situation, no matter how strong the enemy would be in his path. Walking out to his warriors, he demands to listen to his orders. He orders the army to split up and attack from 2 directions, as they need to disorient the enemy at all costs. After several defeats, thanks to his system, he could always find his opponent's weakness and then end the entire battle in one blow. Finally, after grabbing many of his supporters, he invaded the human world and attacked Xingling. The girl didn't hesitate for a second and immediately pulled out her blade from its sheath. The Demon Lord was once again proud of himself, because the girl, in his opinion, clearly did not expect such a sudden attack. However, contrary to his expectations, the girl dealt with all the hordes of demons, including the Demon Lord himself, making a mountain of bodies. The rebirth system asks him again if he wishes to be reborn, having returned to the world 2 years ago. The guy has absolutely no idea what happened here. He worked on his strategy properly. Then why did he lose again? So the problem is something else he couldn't fix, so he agrees to be reborn again. During his 3rd rebirth, he stepped up his squad training. He even drew an image of the specific enemy his warriors were training on. In order to conquer people, it is necessary from understand. So he makes his warriors train hard, however, and the 3rd attempt of the Demon King and his warriors were easily defeated by Xingling. The guy thinks that it won't be like that. This time he was definitely let down by his equipment. In his 4th rebirth, he further increased the army's fighting ability. It was all for the sake of the demons' rebirth, so the demons must not lose a second. Their stronghold must be indestructible. This time, Xingling found helpers, and the greatest Demon King fled in disgrace and was reborn again. During his 5th rebirth, he focused on not being strong enough. That was the problem. So to strengthen himself, he squatted with a huge stone. When he arrived in the human world, Xingling once again easily defeated him, the Demon King. He decided that he would definitely get his way. His 6th attempt followed, in which he was again defeated by his nemesis, Xingling. Then there was his 7th attempt, where he carefully took notes and improved his knowledge. After that, there was also his 8th attempt, where he improved his skills more and more. Then there was the 9th attempt, where he made an elaborate plan and told it to his subordinates. Where did his long-awaited victory go? Then there was the 100th rebirth. Soon there was already the 180th rebirth. So long, already reached the 240th rebirth. After all that, it was hard to keep his sanity, and the guy didn't do it solo. Having been reborn once again, all he could think about was how did he die this time. The 570th rebirth had already come. The subordinate once again came to inquire and talk about the attack on people, but he did not find the master on the throne. The demon subordinate even wonders where the king might have gone. Meanwhile, the Demon King went somewhere, taking with him a backpack and a sword. After all, he is a villain. He had a brilliant plan in mind. As long as his magic stone exists, he will survive anyway, so he decides to exhaust the girl, leave the demonic lair, change places in anticipation of a triumphant return. If he can hide for a few decades, However, his thoughts are interrupted by the shadow of a man appearing behind him. Of course, it turns out to be Xingling. The Demon Lord does not understand how the girl found this place. After all, he even left the demon lair. It took him 2 whole years to plan everything, then why did it fail again? It turns out that no matter what the circumstances, the girl will still appear on his soul. Does the girl really want him dead so badly? Xingling replies in the affirmative. Once again defeated and miserable, the Demon King only thinks that the girl really plans to destroy the entire demon race. It turns out that as long as he is the Demon King, this girl will never leave him alone. The 599th rebirth has come. They invaded the human world again, and as usual, he lost. In his opinion, the conflict between humans and demons remains unchanged, which means the war will never end. Although he had lived several thousand years considering his rebirths, it had only been 2 years for the girl and the others. He sat on his throne and pondered over it all after his next defeat. No matter how hard he tried, it was all for nothing. So maybe he should admit his defeat openly already. No wonder 599 defeats. This Demon King could definitely be called stubborn. Many would have already given up no matter how much they boasted otherwise. As he watches the wench once again smash his army, he decides that no matter what his thoughts are, he will not allow just him alone to disgracefully walk off the stage. So he decides that even if he dies, he will take his nemesis with him. He decides to use his absolute ability. He takes out his huge blade and then stabs himself in the chest and shatters his crystal. Xingling is too surprised by what is happening. For all his suffering, the guy taunts the girl because the girl has probably never met the Demon King, who is ready to blow up his lair. A huge glowing pillar of energy erupts from the Demon King's chest. One of Xingling's squad asks to stop the Demon King, as the energy released from the Demon King's magic crystal is comparable to an atomic bomb. This explosion will destroy many thousands of demon nests, but at this very moment, quite a few people are running errands there. The Demon King is only mocking the humans. After all, his dark power will defile both the cities in the vicinity of the nests and all the people in the demon nests, including the hated Xing Ling. The Demon King laughs and gloats, for here he and Xing Ling will find a common death. However, the girl jumps on the Demon King and uses her blade to destroy the crystal. Almost all the energy is extinguished instantly. The humans rejoice that everything has stopped and there will be no explosion. Over 1,000 years, 600 deaths, battles with no chance of victory, failed attempts to escape. He, the great Demon King, couldn't even achieve mutual annihilation. Laying on the ground as a loser, he only thinks about how tired he is. He always thought that he was the protagonist who was favored by the system. No matter what mistakes he made, he could always go back and make things right. However, watching Xing Ling, he ponders that perhaps he was not originally the protagonist. Then he doesn't understand what his endeavors were for. What was the point of it at all? And when the revival system reappears, he declines its offer to return to the world 2 years back. The rebirth system informs him that confirming his refusal to be reborn will cause the system to lock up. Anyway, that doesn't stop the demon, and he says goodbye to this system and this world forever. People examine the body of the defeated king of demons, and he only thinks about the fact that the system no longer hopes to twist it as desired. The humans laugh and celebrate their victory as they stand by his defeated body. Closing his eyes for the last time, the Demon King is only happy that he will never see his nemesis again. Sometime after he closed his eyes, he doesn't realize if he isn't dead and why he is still conscious. He wonders where the smell of burning came from and then abruptly jumps up. There were flames everywhere. Everything around him was ablaze with fire. He doesn't realize what this place is or why he was here. But then a girl runs up to him and calls him brother. The girl even has tears in her eyes. She is glad that her brother is alive. However, the Demon King notices a mole under his eye and that the girl looks too familiar. Unable to restrain himself, he already goes to scream, because why the girl again appeared in front of him. The girl does not listen to her brother's nonsense. She runs up and hugs him because she is glad that her brother is alive. The girl's eyes are full of tears. She knew that her brother would not leave her. In her eyes, the boy can finally see his reflection and how he looks now. He is too surprised by this turn of events and has so many questions in his mind. Who the hell is this brother? Why is she calling him brother? Has he really taken over the body of the older brother of his hated enemy? The girl only looked at the guy with a pitying look because he is her older brother and he is alive. The girl probably doesn't know what awaits her for all these endless years of tormenting the Demon King, but the Demon King doesn't know what surprises Xing Ling has in store for him. He is known as Xialong, the supreme commander of the untold demon army, the great Demon King born in the abyss, guardian of the greatest magic crystal, human destroyer, owner of the rebirth system, the strongest enemy of mankind, nicknamed the Devil Dragon. At this moment, he was reborn in the body of a human. Moreover, it wasn't just a human, it was the older brother of the most hated person to him, Xing Ling. Sister was very happy that her brother was not dead and had actually come to his senses. Tears did not stop pouring from the girl's eyes. Suddenly, the brother felt that there was a strange smell in the air, and he asked his sister if she felt the same thing. The sister fearfully pointed her finger at her brother and informed him that he was on fire. The guy's butt, as if from the anger emanating from him, suddenly caught fire. The brother is shocked because the flames have started to spread and he tries to find water. But at that moment, the sister informs her brother that there is no water in the neighborhood. The brother tells his sister to put out the flames with her clothes, and she agrees, frightened. However, this does not help in any way, and the girl's clothes also catch fire from the flames. Then the guy tells the girl to come up with another plan. In an instant, his sister informs him that she has come up with a plan, and all his brother has to do is lie down on the ground to do it. He quickly laid down on the ground, but was frightened and suspicious as to what his sister was up to. His fears were not unfounded, as his sister began kicking his butt to put out the flames. The poor former demon lord lay humiliated and with his pants burned. He couldn't believe how weak human bodies were. Xing Ling at this moment knelt down and crouched on the ground. She started crying and complaining that she was completely useless. This finally pissed the guy off. He jumped up abruptly, which surprised the girl. She immediately informed her brother that she was no longer crying. Looking at the girl, the demon lord was surprised that in his younger years, the head of the Order of Shadow Knights was such a weak chicken. He even thought that perhaps all of this was perhaps indicative of the fact that Xingling was currently defenseless against him, approaching his new sister with a frightening aura. He thought that if he just attacked, he would have no problem finally blowing off the head of his main enemy. He had already gathered all his strength in his fist and swung, happy that this was about to happen. But to his disappointment, a shield materialized around the girl. The system reported a warning, and that the guy's actions violated the principle of mutual non-harm. Therefore, the system activated the peace treaty. The demon lord could do absolutely nothing. So pathetic he looked. The system said that the peace treaty was activated, so the damage was cancelled. The system reported that Xingling had entered into a mutual non-harm agreement with Xingling, eliminating the use of techniques that could harm the other party. The system also found that the awakened one was not completely dead. After that, the system started diagnostics and asked to wait for a while. The sister asked if her brother was all right, but the demon lord himself was furious. He was ready to finish his hated enemy, and it turned out that there was some kind of peace treaty. After that, the guy fell to the ground. The frightened sister ran up to her brother to inquire about his condition. Xingling is worried about her brother. She pulls her brother up to a tree. The girl knows that her brother is not used to being injured yet, so she asks her brother to rest for a while. She even asks her brother if he's still in pain. She wonders how his burn is doing and if his brother is better. After a while, Xingling came back and said that she had brought some bottles of water for her brother to wash his face. She wondered if her brother was hungry. She called him brother relentlessly and was very annoying. The demon lord was already completely fed up with her, and if it wasn't for the system, he would have long ago shut Xingling's mouth for the rest of his life. After not receiving a reply, the girl was sure that her brother was hungry, so she went in search of food. The demon lord, on the other hand, looked at the system window. The system has detected an awakened person. The guy's name is Xing Yi. He is 20 years old. Class, Blue Lightning Battle Mage. The system also noted that the system level was too low, so it was impossible to further detect the new body. The demon lord immediately noticed that the awakened human system appeared to be more comprehensive compared to the demonic system. Above the guy's head, the message about the peace treaty was still hanging. This pissed the guy off. The demon lord thought it was a stupid rule. He didn't understand, since when an older brother could be unable to teach his sister a lesson. While Xingling was examining his bag, the demon lord conceived a nefarious plan. Since he didn't have the opportunity to attack his sister directly, it was necessary to cause an accident to finally end her. Meanwhile, the sister took out a tin can from her bag. She offered her brother to eat what she found. Niu Xing asked to get this dirt away from him. He had absolutely no idea what kind of food his sister had just handed him. He didn't understand what was happening to him. However, looking at the tin can and the sandwich, the name of it he didn't know yet, he thought this food was delicious. His hand reached for the food. He resisted as best he could, but it seems that human instincts were kicking in and his body was reaching for the food on its own. His sister points out that her brother doesn't eat this kind of food, but to regain his strength, he should eat it. Xing Yi asked his sister to shut up. After all, he doesn't want to eat it. But contrary to his words, he snatched the food from his sister's hands and took a bite of the sandwich. Looking at his brother's back, Xingling wondered if it was good for him. Almost crying at how wonderful the food was, his brother struggled to squeeze out the words that it wasn't good for him. He remembered the disgusting food he had eaten as a demon and compared it to human food. Kneeling down, he complained about life. He pointed out that humans were too content with life, and that if people continued to do so, they would only degenerate. He continued to convince himself that only the food of demons hardens the will. After that, the demon lord decided to drink from the tin can. He even choked, and his sister immediately ran up to him and asked if he was all right. The food seemed too spicy for him. The demon lord turned out to be a pathetic weakling with no willpower. He immediately began to enjoy the water from the tin can. This bubbling liquid was too sweet for him, and he kept convincing himself and his sister that it was impossible to drink. But even if he didn't like it, he would definitely drink it, just to restore his sugar level. Meanwhile, he greedily gulped down the new-to-him liquid from the jar. In one go, he drank the entire jar. In her thoughts, Xingling notices that her brother is so insincere, but he is cute. The girl recalls her brother complaining that although the eggs were a little burnt and the vegetables were slightly fermented, the dish was extremely hearty. Her sister was delighted, for although her brother wouldn't admit it, he actually liked her food. At least she thought so. Lowering the tin can to the ground, the demon lord continues to complain that his human body has completely taken over his will. He thinks this is incredibly despicable and reiterates that he hates humans. The system has reported that his sugar levels, blood pressure, and other vitals have begun to return to normal, and that the system functions have been completed. Skill 1, Paralyzing Barrier. Skill 2, Lighting Shock. Skill 3, Unstable Electric Ball. Skill 4, Not Yet Detected, and the system has asked to manually detect it. Skill 5, Not Yet Detected, and the system asked for it to be manually detected. Looking at the system, the demon lord thought about his new situation, and in his opinion, his body had come back to life after being reborn. He needed a little time to completely figure it out. Because of his arrogance, he wasn't aware of how humans worked things out. Even his sister was surprised by his brother's musings. Xingling asked her brother if he was looking at the awakened system right now. She wished that she could have one as well. This really surprised the demon lord. Could it be that his sister still hadn't awakened yet? Xingling thought that her brother must have forgotten, but he was the one who was the most talented prelate in all of Yunqing, who easily defeated demons, and she was merely considered a foolish little sister or a burden. A prelate is a person who holds a high position in a religious structure. Everyone around her told her sister that demons had captured and destroyed her brother. No matter how much she begged, no one was willing to listen to her. She had no choice but to send out on her own to find her brother. She was no good at anything, so she could only run away in the hope of finding her brother. One day, she noticed a monstrously bright aura, as if someone had descended from the sky. Little flying demons grabbed someone by the leg and lifted them into the air. While the girl was hiding behind a rock and observing the situation, some demons were affected by this aura. They started yelling that they couldn't eat this person, as there was a terribly terrifying aura emanating from him. At this very moment, Xingling noticed that this person was her brother. She did not hesitate to rush towards the monstrous aura where her brother's fall was. After her brother fell, she immediately ran over to him and began to examine him, asking her brother not to die. The whole time she was screaming that her brother shouldn't die like that because he was so cool. She called herself a fool because it was all because of her. However, this story and his sister's whining pissed off the demon lord, and he told her to stop whining. He notices that his sister can only cry. He doesn't understand where that cold-blooded woman has gone. The demon lord asks Xingling to tell him what most talented prelate in all of Yunqing means. He has just recently woken up, and his mind is still a mess, so he asks for clarification from his sister regarding this. Does all of this really mean that he's pretty cool? The sister proudly informs him that it does. After all, her brother is recognized by one and all as the most promising prelate. Despite his lack of noble origins, her brother has the most outstanding strength among the royal order of knights. Those high-born upstarts are not even worth her brother's finger. Even the king, admiring the guy's talent, exceptionally appointed him as a squad leader. These words greatly surprised the guy. Xingling even started singing songs praising her brother. After all, he is the youngest squad leader in history. He is a true genius. He is her favorite brother. The demon lord was surprised that Xingling was talking about him like that. He clenched his fists and smiled. It looked like the heavens really did favor him. As a demon king, he was doomed to face his nemesis forever. He couldn't imagine that after his defeat, the system would give him another chance, but this time in human form. As he remembered, almost all the heroes of human stories start out as losers and gradually rise higher and higher until they reach the pinnacle of life. An ingenious plan matured in his mind. Since he had failed to become the strongest demon king, it was time to become the strongest human. He even laughed, calling himself truly a protagonist from birth. Here, even his sister couldn't help but notice the strangeness in her brother and asked him what it was with him. In her thoughts, she noted that after her brother woke up, then he was acting a little differently. The demon lord turned to his newfound sister and looked at her with a smirk. For first and foremost, before she gained her power, he had to eliminate her, the main obstacle in his two lives. And so began a plan to take down a nemesis or little sister. He grabbed his head and theatrically announced that he was feeling ill. The sister was once again worried about her brother. The demon lord reported that he suddenly remembered that he had left something in the demon lair. He inquired if the sister remembered where she had found it. His sister remembered everything and immediately pointed out the location. Just like that, they slowly headed out to look for it. Xingling continued to solicitously inquire from her brother what he needed and that she would help with the search. Smirking so that his sister would not notice it, in the back of his mind he informs that he, of course, wants to find a demon to help him get rid of his nemesis or his little sister. Well, ladies and gentlemen, place your bets. How humiliated will the demon lord be next time? And that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you would like to see a sequel, please like, subscribe to the channel, and leave your wishes in the comments. You can also subscribe to Telegram to know about new videos. Bye, everybody.